What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Tuesday. It's an ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. Big thanks for making us on the radio dials 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also streaming online, sportstalk1051.com. You got your smart speakers, the app, download it, take it on the go. Video streams also up and rolling on Facebook and YouTube here this morning. What do we got on a good old game plan for us on this Tuesday? Well, we'll talk some Brewers. Brewers falling last night to the Dodgers in game one of their 4-game series, 5-2 loss. Clayton Kershaw maybe looking like a little vintage Clayton Kershaw last night. He picked up his first win of the season. Freddie Peralta getting charged with the loss. He is now 7 on the season, but returning, picking up a home run off of Freddie in the third, excuse me. Then Otani picking up another 2-run shots. Brewers, as soon as Clayton Kershaw got out of it, got pulled from the game. Contreras picking up a 2-run home run, inching a little bit closer, but the Dodgers putting a little bit more insurance, just at least one insurance run in the seventh, and that was enough to hold on to victory. Just 6 total hits between the two ball clubs, or 6 total hits per team there, but it was the Dodgers capitalizing on those hits last night. So, but Contreras picking up a couple hits. Willie Adames had a couple of hits. 4 of the 6 hits coming from Contreras and Willie Adames last night. So Brewers also making some moves, bringing back Hudson. Hudson is back in the bullpen. They sent down DL Hall, but before anybody maybe reads too much into it, it could just be straight up kind of, he's gonna be back, okay? He's gonna be back. It's a little strategery there. He's probably gonna be back again sometime soon when it's, like, gonna be another turn into the rotation and such, so I wouldn't read too much into it that after his performance, he gets sent back down. I think the Brewers, you're looking at this stretch, and they don't have an off day until Monday there. They're looking at this like, let's try to get some bullpen arms back in. So we see it all the time when it comes to Major League Baseball with these promotions and guys getting sent back down, sent back up, and all that. So he's going to be back here soon. But nonetheless, we're on to game two. Brewers still holding on to a 7.5 game lead over the Cardinals in the division at this point in time. I think I saw the magic number, in case you're wondering if we're getting to that point yet. Magic number for the Brewers to clinch the division's 37 games, I think was the number last night. But Brewers still holding on to a 7.5 game lead over the Cardinals, 9 games over the Cubbies, 9.5 over the Reds, and 11 over the Pirates of Pittsburgh. Tonight, we're going to get Colin Ray on the mound, looking for his 11th win of the season for the Brewers. They got Stone going for the Dodgers. He's going to be looking for his 10th win of the season. So we'll talk some Brewers to lead things off here this morning. Take a look at last night's game and look ahead to tonight's game. Can the Brewers bounce back and pick up a W and even up this series and put themselves in a position to still win this series against the Dodgers? Would be a big time win for the Brew Crew if they can get this series win here. So, plenty of baseball talk coming up here in just a little bit. The Twins last night too, with a big win over the Kansas City Royals, 8-3, an 8-3 victory for the Twins over the Royals for their 66th win of the season, 66-52 overall. We'll throw some football talk into this equation here. We'll throw a little Packers talk in here. Packers will be back at practice today. We heard from Matt LaFleur and the coordinators, or I should say some of the offensive coaches yesterday, including Stanovich, offensive coordinator, running backs coach, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll go through some of the comments, some of the quotes from those coaches here. But the Pack will be back at practice today as they get set to take on the Denver Broncos again. Sounds like maybe the starters won't be playing in that game because remember the Packers and the Broncos are going to be having some joint practices leading up to their game on Sunday. And Matt LaFleur says kind of, they get a lot of the work and maybe get a little bit more out of those joint practices than what they would do in a preseason game. So it sounds like not to expect the starters or majority of the starters to play in the game on Sunday. But nonetheless, we'll talk some Packers football, talk some Badger football with Mr. R.J. Cardinal as the Badgers the other day wrapping up their camp at Platteville. And now as we are getting closer to the college football season, we've got the first AP top 25 poll. First one's out. No big surprises for the teams at the top. You've got Georgia at number 1, Ohio State at number 2, Oregon at number 3, Texas at number 4. Alabama's coming in at 5, Ole Miss 6, Notre Dame 7, Penn State 8, Michigan 9, Florida State 10, Missouri 11, Utah coming in at 12, LSU 13, Clemson 14, Tennessee 15, Oklahoma 16, OK State, Oklahoma State 17, Kansas State 18, Miami 19, Texas A&M coming in at 20, Arizona 21. How about Lance Leipold continuing to impress? Number 22, the Kansas Jayhawks, USC 23, NC State 24, Iowa wrapping it up at 25. Wisconsin was a team that's received some votes out there, but they are not included in the top 25 AP poll to begin the season, which if that's something that you care about, I mean, I know some people don't really care about the AP poll, preseason AP poll. I don't know how you fix it, to be honest. I mean, I think you got to start off somewhere, but I mean, the premier programs are obviously going to get, a lot of love right away, but also I don't know how you fix it. I don't know how it sets some teams back right away where they got maybe a big hill to try to climb up if they're going to be really good and they're not ranked very high and they got this uphill battle to climb. You give a team that's got a high ranking right away, maybe they get a little bit of leeway initially. It's not a perfect science. It's not a perfect science by any means, but we'll talk some college football and such, especially with Mr. RJ Cardinal coming up at about 8:30 this morning. Also, we'll be wrapping up our Eau Claire Express updates today with the Express season in the books from this past Saturday. So that'll be coming up just past 8 o'clock. So we've got that going at us. It is a Grind My Gears Tuesday. What is grinding your gears? Hit us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. Get it off your chest, all right? Get it off your chest. What's grinding your gears here this morning? So let's pitter patter. Let's get at her, shall we? Let's open up things. We'll talk some baseball, talk some Brewers to open it up here this morning. Brew Crew falling to the Dodgers last night, 5-2. Clayton Kershaw maybe looking a little vintage Clayton Kershaw last night. Big boost for the Dodgers, also getting Mookie Betts back. He picked up a home run there last night too. But the Dodgers picking up their 70th win of the season. Brewers still remaining 7.5 up over the Cardinals for first place in the division. But I think, just kind of going through some of the reaction thoughts from Brewers fans on social media and such. There's kind of there's this mindset. I know it's just game one, but social media, you got that instant reaction and such. But there's some Brewers fans like, oh man, here we go again. Can't beat some of the top teams in Major League Baseball. But yeah, we got 3 more games left in this series here. So Colin Ray, come on, big guy. We'll take a look at what's on his plate and take a look at his starts coming up tonight as he's looking for his 11th win of the season. So join in on the convo. Hit me up with anything that's on your mind here this morning. Okay, anything that's on your mind, football, baseball, whatever. Hit me up 715-830-1912. Let's take a quick break and then we'll get things rolling here this morning, shall we? Lead off coming up after these quick words. Fall in Wisconsin is absolutely gorgeous. Driving around and seeing all those leaves changing colors when it's that time of year. You know what would make fall in Wisconsin even better, though? If you were able to sit on that back porch and taking it all in your new home or your cabin on your new property, make that dream a reality with the help from Woods and Water Realty. Just visit woodsandwater.com to find your new dream home, your first home, or that property for you to put a camper or cabin on and start enjoying. Why do we got so? What do we got going on over here? Stuff playing in the background and such. So hold up here. Ruining my little read here. Gotta love technology, right? But your first home or that property. Let's get back to it. Your first home or that property for you to put a camper or cabin on and start enjoying that beauty that was the beauty that Wisconsin has to offer. Just visit woodsandwater.com to get started, especially with hunting season coming up here. Maybe you're looking for a parcel of land to put together your or to put it, to where a place for you to go hunting is what I'm trying to say. Spit it out here, Dan. But if you're looking for that parcel of land to maybe do some hunting and finally put up a cabin of yours and start some hunting traditions or stuff like that, hey, you can do that. Just visit woodsandwater.com. Woodsandwater.com. All right, let's get things rolling here. First, a couple of texts to get to here now that maybe technology is is finally working for me this morning. We've got some weird stuff happening in the studio, so I apologize if we're like kind of off here a little bit because my computer wasn't working this morning. We had different stuff playing, and now it's got weird stuff going on. This is the the benefits of trying to do this without a assistant producer, all that fun stuff over there. So apologies here this morning, but we got a few texts that I want to get to here. Let's first start off with Brandon's mom this morning. Brandon's mom saying, "What's grinding my gears is Fly Out Freddy is grinding my gears. Too many home runs." Also, another texter, don't have a name, but saying, "What's grinding my gears? Freddie Peralta not being able to get people out consistently with two strikes and giving up a homer instead." So, a couple of you throwing out there. Freddie Peralta is grinding your gears here this morning. C-Bomb also chiming in here with talking about college football, the new conference alignment makes preseason rankings mean even less, in my opinion. Take care of your schedule in the Big Ten, and the rankings will take care of themselves. Run your table, and you're in the playoff. Do you think? Let me throw this question out there. But do you think that and they would never would because, it's a talking point and whatever, but do you think the best method of practice is maybe it's the college football playoff one where, when you get into a few weeks into the season and that's the really only one that matters, right? When they come out with those rankings before, halfway through the season, whatever it is, few weeks into it, then they kind of update them after a week or so or a couple weeks. That's probably the best one. Let these teams actually get on the field and play some games and such, and then we can get a better idea of where they're at. So I don't know. I don't really read too much into the AP poll rankings. I mean, it's something to take a look at and kind of get an idea of maybe what the experts out there feel like the teams are or how the teams are going to be and such. I don't know. I don't read too much into it. So uh keep them coming. All right, keep those texts coming. 715-830-1912. What's on your mind here this morning? Let's lead off talking a little Brewers to open up things here this morning. Brew Crew falling to the Dodgers 5-2 last night. Freddie Peralta picking up his seventh loss on the season. And I was trying to see how many. So Freddie Peralta, because a couple more of you have talked about his home runs, and here's the thing: the Brewers have two pitchers in the top 10 in terms of giving up home runs. I'd like to see some advanced statistics to see how the one texter alluded to Freddie Peralta giving up home runs on 2 strikes when there's 2 strikes out there. But, currently, the Brewers right now have 2 pitchers, who are top 10 in giving up home runs. Aaron Savale is, 6, has given up the 6th most home runs, 23 so far this season. Should do a breakdown to see how many he has given up while he's been with the Brewers, though. Freddie Peralta is tied for 10th. He has given up 21 home runs so far this morning. Uh, Cutter Crawford has given up the most. He's with Boston over there. He's given up 27 home runs. So, yeah, Brewers, they got a couple starters there in the top 10 in terms of giving up the most home runs. Who's given up? That I don't want to do least because then you're going to only have a pitcher that's got a couple innings in there too. But, there was an interesting comment from Pat Murphy after the game last night. Don't know if anybody else saw this, but he kind of alluded to that. He thought his young players, his younger players, kind of got caught up in the moment. Kind of got caught up in the awe of maybe going up against Clayton Kershaw. Said, I haven't seen our young guys respond that way. I haven't seen our young guys kind of seem like the moment was a lot. This is it. If you want to swim with the Sharks, you got to be willing to step up in these situations and forget about who's on the mound. It's baseball, pitch by pitch. I'm not disappointed in any of the guys. I'm not mad or anything like that. I just felt like we didn't have the right approach there mentally for the situations. But it is young guys in front of their hometown crowd. It's Kershaw. That means something. So Pat Murphy, maybe I wouldn't say calling out his young players, but he's putting it out there saying, I think, maybe they got caught up in the limelight there a little bit. The awe. We hear that a lot of times in sports where maybe it's a guy that, a teammate, rookie comes in the locker room for the first time and is like, oh my God, there's for Packer sense, we've heard a lot of Packer guys talk about walked in and like, oh my God, there's Aaron Rodgers, or stepping on the field. There's that kind of awe factor to it. And I mean, come on, we're all human. They're all human too. I'm sure for some of those guys, there was that awe factor that, holy moly, that is Clayton Kershaw over there. Did it affect them? Did it affect them at the play? Did it affect their play? Maybe so. But again, it's Pat Murphy kind of calling it out. I don't want to say calling out, but making a note of that. And that's something he didn't. Again, another thing I appreciate about Pat Murphy, he throws those comments out for the media and such for us to talk about, and pretty open and honest a lot of times. Pretty darn open and honest a lot of times out there. So I'm sure he's, whatever he throws, he seems like he's the type of dude, the type of guy that'll whatever he says out in the media, he said it to his team too. He said it in their conversations over there. But, Freddie Peralta again, I've been critical of him a lot of times this season. I don't think we are seeing anywhere near the best of Freddie Peralta. That he's not the all-star, or he's not playing at the all-star level that we saw from a couple of years ago. Getting this might sound a little dramatic, but getting crowned as the ace of the staff. You trade Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff's out with an injury. It's like next man up is Freddie Peralta as that ace. And when you look at the numbers, I mean it's not ace stuff. I know wins and losses don't tell you everything. You look at quality starts and such, but a 4.11 ERA. And then you look at, what he's done if we broke it down month by month, which we have. In the month of in August, just 2 games in August, his ERA is a 6.55. He's given up 4 earned runs in each of his 2 starts. And you look at home run balls here. You look at what he has done game by game situation. And in April, he gave up only 3 in 5 games. He gave up 4 in 5 games in May, 4 in 6 games in June, but July and August, it's kind of ticked up here a little bit. July, he's given up 6 home runs. August, he's already given up 3 home runs in 2 starts, but, I mean, you're talking about 2 last night, 1 against Atlanta, 2 against Atlanta, 2 against Miami. You look at his last few games in a row, I mean, it's 2, 2, 1, 2. So he's been giving up multiple home runs here and there. And there's no question, Freddie Peralta's gotta be a guy, and I know there's a lot of pressure on him to be that ace of the staff for here, but pressure's a privilege, man. He's gotta go out there and perform at a high level, and there is not a pitch let me rephrase this. Who is the pitcher that when they are on the mound for the Brewers, when they get that start, a starting pitcher, who is that starting pitcher when they are on the mound, you're feeling the best about maybe picking up a W? Is it fair to say it's the rookie Tobias Myers right now? Is it fair to say that? You know, you had that feeling when like Corbin Burns was on the mound, that feeling of an ace, right? Like, okay, we got him going today. You're feeling good. You're feeling good. Or you're feeling fairly confident. Is it fair to say it's Tobias Myers right now? The rookie? That's probably my pick. And it's not like confidence is super high, and it's nothing against the kid. It's just he's a rookie and I'd like to see a little bit more of maybe of a sample size and such, more than just what we've seen this year. But it's like when I look at these pitchers, no offense to Colin Ray either. Colin Ray's probably a close two. I mean, he's been pretty darn solid this year. It's just Tobias to me is maybe right now, if we were to power rank our starting pitchers for the Brewers, is Tobias number 1, Colin Ray 2, Freddie 3? Would that be the top 3 right now? And then you got Frankie Montas and then Aaron Savale, just looking straight up at the starting pitchers. Let's say playoffs started next week. You can set your rotation. You can set your starting rotation any way you want. How would you go if you're Pat Murphy with your starting rotation? You personally, because I feel like what they would do would be different than what we would do. I still feel like Freddie would probably get the ball game 1, Colin Ray probably game 2 in that. But right now, to me, Tobias Myers is the guy that when he's out on the mound, I'm feeling a little bit better or feeling a little bit more confident. Colin Ray is probably 2. Freddie Peralta, I mean, you guys are right. A lot of you chiming in. It's the home run balls. It's those big hits that just come back to bite him. I mean, it looks like at certain games, he's having good outing. He looks good, but then gives up a big hit, gives up a big home run, and it's frustrating. It's absolutely frustrating. I mean, his best month, Freddie Peralta's best month was probably April, where he pitched in 5 games, and he was 2-0 with a 3.58 ERA. And there was a game mix in there where he had 5 earned runs against Pittsburgh. That was his best. And ever since then, May, 4.08 ERA, 4.26 in June, 4.10 in July, and right now 6.55. Your ace of the staff can't have an ERA 4 plus. Got to be lower than that. It's just unacceptable at this point. Colin Ray will be looking for his 11th win of the season for the Brewers. Will he be able to pick it up here? Kind of taking a look at the matchups here, batting order or batting lineup versus these pitchers here. Stone's going for the Dodgers here. So when you look at it, Brewers, they don't got any experience. These guys don't have any experience going up against the youngster of Gavin Stone. Get to Gavin Stone here in just a second. For the Dodgers, I mean, you got guys that maybe look like a game, maybe a couple games worth of experience, not a ton of experience going up against Colin Ray. There really isn't. Nothing to really, I would say there's a trend or that guy's got his number. I mean, you've got Freddie Freeman who's got 3 at bats, 333. Hernandez 4 at bats, 250. That's kind of where we're at. That's where we're talking about here with this. Mookie Betts, he's got 3 at bats and he's over, but he's got an RBI, so it's a sacrifice hit. Otani's got 2 at bats, 1 home run against him. So again, nothing that we can really kind of pinpoint and be like, oh yeah, those guys have their numbers here. But back to Gavin Stone and kind of looking at what he has done here to give you a little bit of a scouting report for tonight's game. He's coming off of a no decision against the Phillies back on the 7th, where he went 4 2/3, giving up just 3 earned runs. But his 2 starts prior to that, a couple losses, one against Oakland, where he went 4 innings, giving up 5 earned runs, and then Houston, he picked up another loss, went 6 innings, and gave up 4 earned runs. So Gavin Stone, so far in the month of August, this will be his 3rd start. I mean, it hasn't been great, and especially when you look at his last few games here. But his month of June was so electric. June, he was, I mean, even May. June, he was 4-0 with a 1.97 ERA. In 5 games started, he was 4-0 with a 1.97 ERA. May, 3-1 with a 1.97 ERA in 5 games started. May and June, Gavin was on fire. But since then, it's simmered down now a little bit. July, 4 games, 6.27 ERA. He's struggled here a little bit. August, as we mentioned, couple games into it, 8.31 ERA. So the question is which version will we see of Gavin Stone tonight? Are we going to see the version that he was out there in May and June, lighting it up? I mean, at one point, at the end of through June, Gavin Stone was already 5-9 and 2, 9-2. But then July, since July, it's been a little bit of a struggle. But through the end of June, he was 9-2 and looking pretty darn good. So which version are we going to get tonight? Hopefully it's the version that we've seen of Gavin Stone coming up here lately. Colin Ray, meanwhile, is coming off of one of his best performances of his career, but easily of this season. Back on the 6th, when he faced Atlanta, he went 7 innings, picked up a win, 9 strikeouts, no earned runs, just 5 hits, and 1 walkover there. So kind of get a little bit more of a sample size in terms of what Colin Ray has done. I think since June here. I mean, June was probably his best month. He was 3-0 in 5 games. Started 4 of those, 3.25 ERA. July, 2-1 in 5 games. Started 4 of those. The old opener situation, 3.54 ERA, and he's coming off of this game against Atlanta here. So I mean, again, Colin Ray, I think you're kind of hoping that you can get maybe about close to 6 innings out of him. Again, he's not going to overpower you. Although he has, if you're kind of looking at his strikeout numbers, I mean, he's thrown up. He's getting close to some double digits. I mean, he had 9 in his previous start, which is a season high for him. But before that, he had an 8, he had a 7, he had another 8 up there. So, I mean, he's got some strikeout ability there. But is he going to overpower you? Is he going to be, throwing a bunch of electric stuff up there? Chances are not. That's not his style. That's not his game over there. But if we can get the version of Colin Ray that we've seen more times than not this year, maybe going about 6 innings, giving up a few hits, not exploding on the mound there. He's a pitcher that's going to give your team a chance to win. He's gonna put you more times than not, he's gonna give your team a chance to win. It's just, can the offense come out and give him maybe some early run support tonight? I think that's gonna be key. Can the offense go out there and attack and put up some early run support for him? You know, when you look at Gavin Stone, you look at his last couple games, I mean, he's thrown 84 pitches in his last 2 games, and he hasn't even reached the 5th inning. Rack up that pitch count right away. Get after him, be aggressive at the plate, and put some runs against him. I mean, he's been susceptible to that as of late here. He has his last outing where I'm just kinda looking at his numbers. He has allowed runs in every outing since July. Now, one of them was 1 run against Boston, but he's allowed multiple runs in every outing. I mean, since July, he's only gone 3, 4 and 2/3, 5, 6, 4, 4 and 2/3. Get after him early, attack him, and get some run support. Manufacture some runs and give Colin Ray a lead in the game tonight. All right, let's take a quick break here. Keep your what's grinding your gears coming, all right? Hit us up with a text. We'll be back in just a few minutes to wrap up the first hour after these quick words. Have any last-minute road trips or vacations planned for the rest of the summer? You want to make sure your vehicle is ready to hit the road, though, for those last-second trips, and that's why you need to make sure your oil is changed and your tires are in good shape. You can do all that by visiting ASAP Used Auto Parts in Eau Claire. Not only does ASAP Used Auto Parts help you save money on high-quality used auto parts, but they are your go-to spot for oil changes and and new tires. So hit the road for one more trip this summer and get your vehicle ready to do so by visiting ASAP Used Auto Parts in Eau Claire. Question from it looks like Colin on the texting line. I like it when we get questions like this. But Colin asks, "What do you think, or maybe who do you think? Excuse me, is the biggest weakness on this Packers roster right now, given what we have seen from the first preseason game and what we have seen from training camp so far?" I don't know about individual. How about we do? I'm going to alter it here a little bit, Colin. I hope you don't mind. What if we do like? What do you think is maybe the area that's the biggest weakness right now? Like maybe position group and such. Based off of the first preseason game and what we have kind of been following along now for the last few weeks of training camp, would have said offense. Maybe it's still offensive line depth because I mean I know they had a solid first preseason game, but do we want to put a lot of stock into that one? I mean, I think I still may go offensive line depth because wide receivers, you're good. You got Jacobs. I know some may say depth behind Jacobs at running back just because Marshawn Lloyd is hurt. There's still some questions maybe about AJ Dillon this year, even though the running back coach Ben Simmons yesterday talked about it and said there wasn't a whole lot of daylight for AJ Dillon to get after. Matt LaFleur said the same stuff, although they both said too he's gotta have better pad level. Here we go, pad level. I think that's the first time it's a pad level this season so far. So maybe it's the depth just because a little bit of uncertainty there. Tight ends, I mean, you got Musgrave, you got Kraft and such. Defensive line, I think you're good. That includes the tackles and the ends. Linebackers, maybe you're a little bit nervous with just because it's a little bit unknown. Quay Walker, Edgerrin Cooper, rookie, got Isaiah McDuffie and Eric Wilson. I think safeties. I mean, so far, I think you've got to be impressed from what we've seen and what we've heard about the young safeties outside of Xavier McKinney, but talking Evan Williams and then and Bullard and such. So I think I'd be impressed there. Corners, I think I'm good at. So yeah, maybe it's the Colin. Maybe it's the depth at offensive line. And again, I know they had a solid game in their first preseason game, but let's see it continue to go. Or maybe the kicking game in this too. There's no clear cut favorite right now. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? I think it would be a bad thing is if they were missing more of their kicks or boatload of kicks, but I mean that really hasn't been the case. Yeah, you had an off day for a couple of these guys in that, but so yeah, I guess you could throw the kicking game into this equation here. So I'll throw it back to the rest of you though. What would you think to answer Colin's question? Or I like getting questions like that. Thanks, Colin. So yeah. Again, I think when it comes down, we talked a little bit about it yesterday. If you're doing your 53-man roster predictions after one preseason game, defensively, I think a lot of those jobs are already secured. I think defensive line is secured. I think the linebackers are pretty much secured. Safeties are pretty much secured. Maybe you got a little competition on the back end of the cornerback position. I just think a lot of those jobs are secured at this point. Offensively, you're looking at the back end and you're looking at depth of the offensive line and maybe the last couple spots for the receiver. So, how much competition is actually up for grabs right now? We'll see. But got a couple more games, a couple more weeks left of that. But we'll get back to some more Packers talk coming up in the next hour and so. But also we've got we've got some Badger chat coming up here, some college football chat. The AP poll, first AP poll of the season is out. No big surprises. You got Georgia at number one, Ohio State's number two, Oregon's in there too. So remember, Big Ten expansion, Oregon, Big Ten team, still weird to say. Ohio State, obviously, we know that's over there. But shout out, I mean, we can root for Kansas, right? Because you get Lance Leipold over there, UW Whitewater guy. He's doing a fantastic job over there. Kansas coming in the top 25. So I mean, we could root for Kansas in terms of football, right? That's okay, right? I mean, I'd like to see Kansas have some success and screw everything up for the top teams out there and such. But Badger football team wrapping up their practice, their camp at I should say at Platteville a couple days ago. So we'll hit up RJ with the latest because they're just a couple weeks away here from opening up their season on the 30th, is it Friday, I believe, over there. So we'll hit up that with RJ Cardinal coming up at about 8:30. Then before that, we'll be wrapping up our Eau Claire Express updates for the season as well. I got a couple more texts about the Brewers. Question I kind of threw out there in the previous segment was, which starting pitcher do you maybe have the most confidence in right now? Say this is a game seven. Say this is a game seven situation, and you got to throw one starter out there to win you that ball game. Who is it? It's a wide majority right now. It's Tobias Myers. A lot of texters. Tobias Myers, Tobias Myers, Tobias Myers. Even though he struggled, I'd still go with Freddie Peralta based off experience, says Frank. I'd have to go with Colin Ray. He doesn't have the most dominant stuff, but he has been the most consistent pitcher so far this season for the Brewers. That's from Matt. Got another Tobias Myers. But right now it is Tobias Myers. You're the manager. You're Pat Murphy. You got one game to go. One game to win. It's a major league situation. The movie Major League Situation. Who you throwing out there for that must-win game? Whether it's a game seven or it's a game to win to get in the postseason or whatever the case may be. Who's that starting pitcher? Right now, it looks like the majority of you are going with Tobias Myers. Make your case, whether it is Tobias or whether it's Colin Ray or Freddie Peralta. Heck, I'd even throw in the option of, do you do a bullpen start over there? Now, you could get a little funky with that. I understand that, but be realistic with some of your picks over there. So, but yeah, right. If I were to power rank him, if I were to rank him right now, I'd put Tobias at number one. He's the starting pitcher that I've got the most confidence in right now. I mean, it's not like super ace status level. Like if Corbin was out there or any of the other top, Paul Skeens or anything like that. It's not to that level. But based off of all of the other players that we have available, who our current starters are, Tobias is my pick. Tobias is my pick. So, all right, we'll get back to some more Brewers talk too. But keep your thoughts coming. Hit me up with those texts or comments on the video stream, all that fun stuff. All right, we got the shot clock kicking us off right now. One in, couple more to go. We'll get to some Packers talk. We've got Grind My Gears Tuesday. Let's grinding your gears. This ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. Get it off your chest. Now is the time. All right. One in, two more to go. We'll be back after these news updates. Second hour kicking off right now on this Tuesday morning. Appreciate you all tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from. Radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Online, sportstalk1051.com. You've got the video streams up and rolling, YouTube and Facebook. Download the app, take it on the go. Multiple different ways for you to be tuning in this morning. Join the convo. Hit me up with a text, 715-830-1912. Over there, what's on your mind, sports fans, this morning? Let me know. All right. Also, it is an ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. So what's grinding your gears? Get it off your chest. All right. Let us know. Also, I think we've got enough now for our fantasy football league. So I put up a poll question, or I put up the question in our Facebook group page last night, and with everybody's responses over there, I think we've got enough now. So I'll work on it. I don't know. If we get too many, maybe we'll put out a couple leagues or something like that. We'll see. But I'll keep you posted. Keep you posted on that. Make sure if you did text yesterday, I'll make sure to send you the link and such. But otherwise, go to the Facebook group page for the love of the game, and comment on it saying you want in. Then I'll get you the link to sign up over there. So we're going to talk some Packers coming up here in just a little bit. We've got Badger football chat with RJ Cardinal coming up. A little under an hour and a half for about 8:30, a little before that. Before RJ, though, we'll chat some Eau Claire Express to wrap up our Eau Claire Express segments with the Express season now in the books, falling just a bit short of making the postseason there. But what a ride this season has been. What a fun season it's been for the Express, especially on the offensive side of things there too. Bunch of home runs, bunch of grand slams, all that good stuff. So we'll catch up with our friends from the Express coming up just a little past 8 o'clock here this morning. Catching up on a couple more messages throughout the question: which starting pitcher for the Brewers do you trust the most right now? And it's still, I mean, majority is going with the rookie. It's Tobias Myers. And I think right now, if you were to power rank the starting pitchers for the Brewers, Tobias to me is number one. Colin Ray's probably two. Then you probably throw Freddie Peralta maybe in three. Just looking straight up at starters, right? Straight up at the starters. So, but yeah, we'll hit that up coming up here in just a little bit, or get back to some more of your text coming up here in just a little bit. So, what else do we got here? Yeah, we're a couple of you also answering Colin's question from the last hour. Colin had asked, what do you think right now after the first preseason game and after the first couple weeks of the training camp? What do you think is the weakest area of this Packers team? And majority still look like it's a lot of you chiming in saying it's the depth of the offensive line. Have a few of you saying the kicking situation. Those are the top two right now. Those are the top two right now. I mean, could it change, knock on wood, if there's injuries or anything like that? Yes, absolutely. But right now, we're good. So far, we're good. A couple of you did mention the depth at running back, especially with a Lloyd hamstring injury over there too. So, but keep your picks coming. Looks like the majority of you going offensive line, then followed up closely behind the kicking situation. Packers will return to practice today before heading off to Denver here in a little bit later on this week, because they're going to be doing some joint practices with the Broncos this week, leading up to their game on Sunday. So anybody heading over to practice, you can go today or tomorrow. They're going to be in Green Bay today or tomorrow. 10:30 starts. Then they got a little bit of a joint practice going on with Denver. And according to Matt LaFleur, now things could change, but Matt LaFleur said this the other day, that don't expect the starters to play, or a lot of the starters to play against Denver, because they get most of their work with these joint practices. and such. So, but yeah, we'll get maybe some injury updates today. I don't expect Lloyd to be playing or practicing. Hamstring injuries with running backs makes me a little bit nervous, makes me a little sketchy over there. So, but we'll see what the availability is going to be for some of these guys now. So, and then hopefully Jordan Morgan can get out on the field. I mean, Jordan Morgan's competing for a starting spot. You want to see these rookies, some of these guys, Edrin Cooper. That's the one thing right now with this Packers team. You got some of the rookies who are a little bit dinged up, who are a little bit hurt right now. And you want to get these guys on the field. You want to get these guys on the practice field so they can get this work in and they're ready to go in the regular season. Morgan missing time, Cooper missing time, now Lloyd missing time. I mean, that doesn't help their development. It's not going to help their development this year, especially, like Morgan and Cooper. Cooper, I think we was a guy that now I don't know if he was going to open up the season as a base starter, but it was kind of trending that way. And given everything that we've been hearing about with how electric he has looked like in practice and kind of what him and Quay Walker could do as a duo at that linebacker position, if he's going to be missing some more time here, it's kind of a bummer. It is a bummer. So hopefully these rookies, guys who didn't get to play in that first preseason game, hopefully they can get back on the field here soon and get some of that work in here because I think guys like Cooper and Morgan and Lloyd, they're going to be counted on throughout this whole season. So the Packers offensive coaches did talk yesterday, including Matt LaFleur, but couple of interesting comments from some of these coaches from their media sessions yesterday. Again, AJ Dillon was a topic of conversation with Matt LaFleur and Ben Simmons and such, but they both said, running backs coach Ben Simmons, both said that AJ Dillon didn't have the greatest blocking in front of him, but they both also said too, because I know that's a big talking point, is how AJ Dillon looked in that first preseason game, maybe not getting a lot of yards. So both the coaches said he didn't have the greatest protection up front, but they also said too that he could have done a better job with, get ready for it, his pad level out there. So some other comments and quotes from the offensive coaches yesterday. Matt LaFleur is sick of questions about whether he has a number one wide receiver or not. Said that I want to vomit every time I hear number one wide receiver. It drives me crazy. I get it. I understand where he's coming from in that situation. And does it benefit the team, throughout the whole season to not have that number one wide receiver and spreading the ball around? Yes, there's positives to that. There's no question. I still feel like eventually somebody is just naturally going to elevate themselves to that number one spot. I feel like it's naturally going to happen, whether it's Dontavian Wicks or whether it's Christian Watson or Romeo, one of those guys. I feel like one guy is going to just naturally rise up there. Could be wrong, could be completely wrong, but I don't think Green Bay is just gonna, and I don't think Matt LaFleur is gonna call up plays to like, okay, make sure we spread the ball. I just want Jordan Love, get the ball to the open guy. Okay? Get the ball to the open guy. If it happens to be one receiver more than the other and he starts to kind of develop into that go-to option, so be it. Just get the ball to the open person. I don't care who it is. So I get why LaFleur is saying that, where, maybe a little dramatic about the whole vomit thing. But I think that's that's the thought process throughout this whole thing is, Jordan Love, just get the ball. If it's Musgrave, if it's Kraft, if it's Jacobs coming out of the backfield, if it's one of their 500 wide receivers that they got over there, just get the ball to the open player. That's all. But I do think it naturally there's going to be a natural progression that maybe a couple dudes kind of rise to the top, cream of the crop. The cream rises to the top. That is just those guys are maybe going to develop into the top 2 targets from the receiver standpoint. Who knows? Who knows at this point? We'll see how the season goes. But Christian Watson, there was an interesting little nugget from passing game coordinator Jason Vrabel. Said they track receiver speeds in practice. And Christian Watson, we know Christian Watson's has speed. But they have had multiple days where he's hit high 21 miles per hour. Said when you're 21.9 in practice, that's flying. 21.9 miles per hour. Think about that. Now, I'm sure maybe some people are like kind of, just like holding on to their breath and like, okay, that's fast, but this is a dude that has been dealing with some soft tissue hamstring injuries. Don't overdo it, man. I get it, I understand. But can you imagine? Just put this in your mind here a little bit, Packers fans. Can you imagine for all of these offensive weapons that Green Bay has? Jacobs, Wicks, Reed, Dobbs. Now you got a big wide receiver, a tall wide receiver. That is one of the fastest receivers in the entire league. You add that to your arsenal, you add that type of speed to your arsenal. This is why a lot of people feel like that if there was going to be a guy that's going to develop into a number 1 wide receiver on this team, the potential of Christian Watson is there. We've seen the potential of Christian Watson. The thing is just we haven't seen the consistency. We haven't seen a big sample size of it. But when you put his size and his speed at the forefront of this, and you factor all that in there, I mean, you got a deep threat with Watson that could be dangerous, could be lethal. And that's where you got the makeup of a lot of these offensive players on this roster that are so unique. They're so unique. Like, I don't want to be over dramatic with this, but when was the last time? When was the last time that maybe Green Bay had this type of different skill sets, different athletic ability from their offensive players? A lot of it is still potential because we're putting a lot of eggs in our basket and a lot of these young guys, and I understand that. But the potential, I mean, even the wide receiving core is like you're mixing and matching with different skill sets. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you've got 4 receivers that all do the same thing. They're built the same way, and they do a lot of the same tendencies. You've got a big, fast receiver in Watson. You've got a nice possession receiver like Romeo Dobbs. You've got a Jaden Reed who could be a really good slot receiver but has experience on the outside. Dontavian Wicks might be your best route runner and big play potential there. Then you got a big running back and Josh Jacobs behind you. Tight ends with Musgrave and Kraft. Like, when was the last, the Aaron Rodgers teams, you had a lot of receivers. Yes, 2011, you opened up and you had Jermichael Finley healthy there. I know the Sports Illustrated cover that everybody's thinking of right now. But then you're like, okay, well, who is the running back? You're kind of mixing and matching Ryan Grant, whatever. Remember the Cedric Benson era for Green Bay? It was like they're trying to find a running back. And then they're trying to find a tight end. Jared Cook in there for a year. They probably should have kept him for a little bit longer. But it was like, okay, they were good with wide receivers, but it was like they just could never develop a tight end, or when they had one, Jermichael, then he got hurt, and then you couldn't find a running back and all that. So, like, when was the last time? They've had really good offenses, and they've put up a lot of yards, especially passing yards. But when was the last time when you looked at the position group and it's just got a nice mixture of different talent, and then I because all those years was there, and it's like you had good receivers, but then maybe you're like, but they don't have that running back, or then they got Aaron Jones and they got receivers, they don't have that tight end. You got Andrew Corliss as your starting tight end. The potential is there for this to be a really unique group and so many guys, and I love the makeup of it because I think a lot of those guys, if not all of them, they do their best is a different best than the next guy. You know what I mean? Like Watson, his best is probably using his speed for deep plays down the field. Whereas Jane Reed's maybe his best is over the middle of the field. This is why I think everybody is so excited, so intrigued with the potential that is there with this offense with a lot of these playmakers. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll get back to some more Green and Gold chat coming up after these few words.
That it's officially football season, whether it be Friday night lights after Old Abe football, college football Saturdays, or Sunday fun day with the NFL, I'll probably be there even more. So if you're looking for that bar where everyone truly does know your name, it's time to make a court and house appearance. And yes, your first one is still on me once my loan is approved. Join me, Grant Avenue, downtown Eau Claire.
Hey, this is Lisa Stofan. Heard the Mark Patrick weight loss hypnosis hype? Well, I attended because my father stopped smoking with hypnosis. Hypnosis eliminated my desire for soda and fast food, made me want to exercise, and I lost 60 pounds in 6 months. My energy level exploded. I went to another session to deal with some other problem foods, and I lost another 10 pounds. In fact, I brought my husband. He lost weight. More important, cholesterol and blood pressure improved. My friend went and she lost 20 pounds in the first 2 months. So does Mark Patrick hypnosis work? Oh yeah, it works. Nothing has changed my life more. Well, except maybe my husband. He's so proud of me, makes me cry.
Wow, what are you waiting for? Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose the weight or stop smoking, guaranteed. Early bird special only $49.99. That's right, weight loss seminar, Sunday, August 18th at the Best Western Plus Eau Claire Conference Center in Eau Claire at 11 a.m. Registration 10:30 a.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Registration 1:30 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com.
Get ready to save with half-off deals, a great way for you to get goods and services that you will love and you don't have to pay full price. Be sure to check out all the great savings that half-off deals have to offer. There's something for everyone, so be sure to see for yourself. Be ready with your credit or debit card and get ready to save. For more details and to find out about all the savings, just go to aroundthe715.com.
If Culligan isn't treating your home's water, you likely have water problems all around you, like hard-to-clean chalky residue on your shower, faucets, and bath, stains around your sink drains, spots on your dishes and glassware, plus dull, dried-out hair and skin, and problems you don't see, like scaly buildup in the water heater and pipes. But have no fear, you're in the clear with Culligan Products and Service. For all your residential and commercial water filtration needs,
visit CulliganH2O.com for your local Culligan water dealer.
As a business leader, every day brings countless decisions. Some big, some small, some easy, and some you need to sleep on. Work with a banker who gets you, gets your business, and can help you make the right decisions to meet your goals. So you're not just navigating between choices, you're planning your success. Work with Bremer Bank, because understanding is everything. Put us to work for you today at bremer.com.
Stand by as we continue our dig for the truth and the toy at the bottom of the cereal box. Oh, got it.
The Dan Kasper Show.
Not sure if you could tell from all the fall decor and Halloween decorations that are already flooding the stores and your social media feeds, but fall is nearly upon us. So while the leaves may start to fall along with the temperatures, you should fall into Carpet City Flooring Center and finally update that flooring of yours in your home. Hey, maybe it's time for you to finally put together that man cave for football season, or remodel that bedroom or living room, or change out those shower tiles too. Whatever it may be, honor the changing of the seasons by changing up your flooring game. Just head to Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire and let the team there help you accomplish your flooring dreams. Maybe get in the mood with the changing of the season with some new Rigid Max flooring that would look amazing in your space. So fall on into Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire and upgrade that flooring game of yours. Quick Grind My Gears Tuesday from Brian. Something that grinds my gears is the pitching of Freddie Peralta. He has been a very, very popular pick for Grind My Gears Tuesday. He was our number one going into the season with the loss of Burns and the injury to Woodruff. Our middle relievers and bullpen are holding the team together thanks to Myers and Ray for stepping up. Hope Hall can be another starter we can rely on. Does Peralta become our third or fourth heading into the stretch run? So he has been a very, very, very popular pick for our ASAP Used Auto Parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. All right, let's continue to talk a little green and gold here this morning. Joseph, looking at first preseason game now officially in the books. Who or what stood out to you from the first preseason game this past Saturday?
Well, the obvious choice is Jordan Love, but let's get deeper into it. And first of all, I think Emmanuel Wilson showed that he belongs in the NFL. 13 carries, 67 yards, the ability to cut and plant the foot and go. You saw bouncing to the outside, the speed to get to the outside. I thought that was impressive. And so he stepped up. He was a guy that flashed. Grant Dubois, another guy that flashed. That will be very, very hard to keep off the 53. And 5 catches, 66 yards. I thought he flashed a lot. And then, it's interesting because my opinion, Bo Melton did not look good. He dropped a couple of catchable balls. Were they right on the numbers? No, slightly thrown behind. slightly off a bit, but catches you have to make. So guys like Malik Heath, Bo Melton, Grant DeBose made a statement. So I was impressed by that. On defense, you look at Evan Williams. This is a guy, and again, I love the quote, and it's a quote, I believe, from Nick Saban. Make us play you. And we use that quote over at Eau Claire Memorial. We tell kids, make us play you. Evan Williams is a kid that is going to make Jeff Hafley play him. And so he showed consistency. One of the surest tacklers coming down from that safety spot. So yeah, I thought he flashed well. And it's interesting, Captain, because again, when you look at the kicking game, and you said, okay, well, who won that? Anders Carlson 2 for 2, Greg Joseph 1 for 1. And when you look at it from a standpoint, and each of them hit an extra point, but when you looked at the kickoff and you looked at where the ball was coming through the uprights on some of those kicks, I thought Greg Joseph showed. So there were a lot of good things coming out. Lucas Van Ness, another guy that I want to talk about, with his hand in the dirt. You got 1 sack, 3 tackles for loss. And so, again, a lot of good tape to pour over, a lot of good individual plays, and a lot of guys looking to make that next leap, whether it being getting on the roster or getting more playing time.
So you mentioned a few guys who didn't have the best performances over there. Looking ahead to game 2 on Sunday versus the Broncos, who are the guys that really need to maybe kind of step it up? And what are your thoughts on A.J. Dillon and his performance? I know that's kind of gone back and forth. He didn't have a ton of carries, just a few of them, and then the Packers took him out of there. Matt LaFleur and Ben Sermons yesterday said that he didn't have very good blocking up front, but he does have to improve his pad level over there. So what were your thoughts on A.J. Dillon too?
Yeah, it was tough to make that call on him, and I'm gonna pick on that backup offensive line, specifically the tackle position, because I thought Kadeem Telfort, Andre Dillard, and Caleb Jones all flashed, but they were very inconsistent. A couple of times, especially Andre Dillard got pushed back into the backfield on running plays, and so it's really hard. And it's interesting, Captain, because we had our Eau Claire Memorial scrimmage last night. When you put the number 2s and 3s in there on the offensive line, it's hard to consistently run the ball. And so, and A.J. Dillon doesn't have that bounce that Emmanuel Wilson has, or obviously a Josh Jacobs. And so he is a different kind of back. He really is a, one cut downhill kind of guy, and that's what you're envisioning. And when the holes are there, it makes it for tough tape from the running back position. I'm more critical of those backup tackles than I am of A.J. Dillon. And I think the jury is still out. And look, if Marshawn Lloyd's hamstring injury continues to linger, that's a guy that could start the year, on the IR with the ability to come back during the season. And so you might see A.J. Dillon as that other back. But right now, I would say Emmanuel Wilson is that clear-cut number 2 behind Josh Jacobs. But it really depends where A.J. Dillon is, depending upon what that Marshawn Lloyd hamstring injury is. And so, yeah, I am much more critical of the play of that backup offensive line, again, specifically the tackles, than I am of A.J. Dillon.
I know there's some people after the first game now kind of doing roster predictions and such. And when I look at it, I don't want to do any predictions at this point in time. But when I look at it, especially on the defensive side, I kind of question how many jobs are actually up there. I look at defensive line, that includes defensive ends and defensive tackles. I don't really know if there's any open spots there. It seems like it's clear cut and dry. Same with the linebackers, even the safeties with the youngsters, maybe a back end corner over there. How many jobs do you actually think there are really on the line for some of these defensive guys, or how many are open at this point in time?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. And you look at the depth of that defensive line. I mean, you got a guy, Colby Wooden, who really flashed last year. And I think it's going to be difficult for him to see the field on a regular basis. You've got T.J. Slayton, Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt, Carl Brooks in front of him, arguably. So now Colby Wooden becomes that 5th interior defensive lineman. And so I think I agree. I think it's going to be very hard. And you're looking at rotational guys. You're looking at keeping guys fresh. And so I look at that as a pretty set in stone right now. You probably know the 8 or 9 that you're going to carry going into the 53. When you look at the linebacker position, and that's one where, again, the greatest ability is availability. And right now, Edgerrin Cooper has not been available. Tyron Hopper has not been available. The two rookies, especially Cooper, highly touted. And so right now, you've got Quay Walker, Isaiah McDuffie out there, and Eric Wilson seeing a lot of playing time. So I think that's one area where that could shift a little bit once these guys are available. And you might see some shifting in the depth chart there at the linebacker position. But yeah, at that defensive line and with those former 3-4 outside backers turning into defensive ends, I think that depth chart is pretty much locked in stone, whereas the inside backer position probably a little bit more fluid due to injury.
Looking at the corner position too, obviously Jair, Eric Stokes, Keyshawn Nixon, Carrington Valentine in there too. How much do you think that position is going to be a little bit in flux, knowing that Williams can play the slot corner? You got Bullard who can play the slot corner. Sure seems like Keyshawn Nixon's been hearing that chat too, because he tweeted out, "I'm the nickel corner, stop with this blah 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 talk out there." But I mean, you got to factor that in, I think, when you talk about those guys and their ability to play corner. And does that factor into how many corners they keep on this roster?
Yeah, no doubt. And we've also got Kalen King and Corey Ballantyne, and so you've got guys who can play multiple positions. And I look at that defensive secondary for the Packers very much like I look at the offensive line. You've got guys that can play multiple positions and bring different skill sets to the table. And so I think you're absolutely right. I think you've got a mix and match, and that's really, really fun for a defensive coordinator, because now you've got a personnel grouping out there, and the OC or the quarterback sees one thing and one type of coverage, and it's going to be something completely different. And so that's one of the things I like about Hafley's defense is there's a mystery to it, where offensive coordinators, quarterbacks don't necessarily know who's coming where, who's playing what position. And again, I think position flexibility is truly one of the things that's the most underrated characteristic coming out of college. Guys that you can put in one position, and again, where you can create a defense around him in this position, and then you can recreate the defense completely around him at a different position. So yeah, it's going. And I thought defensively, especially that first team for Green Bay and some of the main key reserves, I thought played really well. And again, at least one game in, exhibition season in, the Jeff Hafley experience looks like it's working.
How important do you think, this maybe was the first time for some people to see the new kickoff rule, and I think it was Kevin Harlan who mentioned it on the telecast, but going back to the kicking situation and kickoffs now, how big of a factor is this, or how much pressure or more pressure does it put on opposing defenses? Because depending on where you kick it off and where they start, some teams may only have to move the ball 10 yards, kind of like what the Browns had to do in their first drive, 10, 15 yards, and they're already in field goal position. So, I mean, does that put extra pressure on this defense to be an aggressive defense, to try to get after the quarterback, to try, to get some, lost yardage and such? Is that something that you can maybe anticipate seeing this upcoming season, in your opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Negative yardage is going to be a key, especially coming off those kickoffs. And so, yeah, there's no question that the average kickoff, that the average field position is going to be improved for offenses as far as where they start drives after kickoffs this year. There's just no question. And I think, again, you're going to see more offensive football because of it, which puts more pressure on that negative yardage. If you know that you've got somebody at the 35-yard line, and now, like you said, a couple of plays and now you're in field goal position, it makes a huge difference. And so negative yardage, I think, is going to be one of those things that at the end of the year, you're going to look at and say, how many plays on the other side of the line of scrimmage, whether they be sacks, tackles for loss, or even penalties at that point, how many how many of those did your team create? And I think that's going to be a difference maker when you're looking at potentially who really is a good defense in response to these new special teams rules. So 100%, that is going to be a big part of defensive coordinators' game planning.
You know, I thought it was interesting too. A couple days ago, Matt LaFleur kind of talked about, you know, starters playing in the preseason, how they looked at the last few years, and even under the Aaron Rodgers era, and where they didn't play starters, and kind of how they started off compared to, you know, all that other stuff, and that's factored into playing time. So hearing that, do you think the starters should continue to play, even though it sounds like they're not going to play against Denver because they're going to do the joint practices, and Matt LaFleur said they get a little bit more out of that? Do you still continue to play starters a little bit in these preseason games, so hopefully they can start off fast? How would you go about this?
Yeah, I think with the joint practices, that does add something. And so, again, I'm okay because my biggest thing with preseason, you just said it too, Captain, that most of the positions, the starting positions, the ones and twos, you are pretty figured out. They're pretty set in stone. So, preseason games are really more for that bottom third of the roster. And when you've got the joint practices, you can get so much more out of those, especially from a physicality standpoint, that I don't think you need to play some of these guys in games. So I'm okay with these guys. And again, Jordan Love might have played himself out of the next two preseason games with his ability to throw deep, and obviously hit Dontavian Wicks with that 65-yard touchdown. So I'm okay with it because for me, it really is that bottom third of the roster. And maybe you've got one or two starting positions or main backup positions that you're really looking at. So with the combined practices, I'm A-okay with that. And again, I'm okay with not seeing a lot of the starters coming out these next 2 weeks and getting ready for who's going to be on that 53 come September.
All right, before we let you go here, give me the players to watch in game two, or or the guys that really have to step it up in game two against Denver.
One of the things I'm a big fan of is stacking practices or stacking opportunities. All right, so if you have a good game, build on it. If one good play leads to another good play, leads to a good practice, leads to a good game, leads to a good season. So you're stacking these opportunities. And so, again, I'd like to see that backup quarterback battle. I want to see Sean Clifford, who, in my opinion, looked better than what we've seen in practice. But I thought Michael Pratt looked really, really good. So I want to see those two quarterbacks. I want to see Emmanuel Wilson take that next step up and continue to build on practices. I want to see Grant DuBose continue to build on practices. I want to see, Lucas Van Ness have another good game and be active and do the kind of things that he's done. And also Evan Williams. And so, when you flip it to the other side, if one of these tackles doesn't step up, we all know Rasheed Walker's left tackle, Zach Tom, as they work him back from the pec injuries, your right tackle. But if one of these tackles doesn't step up, then it's time to start maybe looking outside the organization. I tweeted it out today. Could David Bakhtiari be making a Green Bay comeback? I know it sounds ridiculous, but no one has signed him yet. And, would he accept an opportunity to be that swing tackle? I don't know. Maybe unlikely, but the point being is if those tackles don't step up, you may have to say, you know what, our swing tackle is not in the Green Bay organization as of today. And so, some guys you want to stack practices, you want to stack games, you want to see something more from them because they showed you a little bit last week. And there's some guys, truthfully, that need to show to save their roster spot. And I want to see one of those tackles step up and have a good game. If not, I think Goody's got to be looking at the waiver wire and who's out there as a veteran that could be that swing tackle.
All right, he's Joe DeGuano chatting some green and gold with us this morning. Appreciate the time as always, sir. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll catch up next week, recapping game two and looking ahead to the final preseason game.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
You too. There you go. Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning, chatting some green and gold. We're going to take a quick break. We'll finish up the second hour with Grind My Gears Tuesday. What's grinding your gears? ASAP Used Auto Parts. Grind My Gears. Let us know. Last call for them, all right? Quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Get ready for football season with the help from Hy-Vee. Whether you're tailgating at the game or maybe having a party at your home, Hy-Vee has all the essentials you need for game day. From all the meats from the meat department to put on the grill, snacks and beverages, including their huge wine and spirits department. Grab yourself some Man Cave Light over there, baby. Hy-Vee is your tailgating headquarters. And don't forget to check out their sports shop, too, where you can get some swag to help cheer on your favorite team, including some of the local high schools. It's football season. Score a touchdown with all of your football needs with Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. We got about, what do we got? About 8 minutes, a little less than 8 minutes at the top of the hour. We got a busy 8 o'clock hour coming at you. I'm going to be catching up with the Eau Claire Express to kind of recap the season. Fallen just a bit short from reaching the postseason, but man, what a run in the second half, and what a fun team to watch this year. If you like offense with your baseball, you had to really love the Eau Claire Express this year with their home runs and grand slams and the amount of runs that they put up this year. So we'll recap it all coming up in just a little bit past the top of the hour. Then we'll talk some Badger football, college football with Mr. RJ Cardinal. Badger football team wrapping up their camp at Platteville, and we've got a couple more weeks. Yeah, 30th, couple more weeks here till the first game and such. So, but we'll talk about it all coming up here in a very, very, very busy 8 o'clock hour. A lot of you with your ASAP used auto parts grind my gears Tuesday. A lot of you going with Freddie Peralta. In fact, I think everybody who has chimed in has gone with Freddie Peralta for their grind my gears Tuesday this morning. So I'll switch mine up here a little bit just to change it up. Change the flavor up here a little bit. My grind my gears, I kind of mentioned a little bit yesterday. We don't need 7:00 p.m. Sunday preseason games, okay? We don't need a 7:00 at night Sunday preseason game. That's just that doesn't work, and that's what we've got for the Packers coming up here. It's the Broncos. We don't need that, okay? Have it during the day. Start it a little bit earlier. We don't need a prime time preseason game. Okay? Enough with that. Yes, I don't want to have to stay up late on a Sunday to watch preseason. I love preseason, but come on. This is a little ridiculous. So move it up. It's preseason. That's my grind my gears. I know I mentioned a little bit yesterday, but I was also going to put kind of maybe Freddie Peralta on there, but a lot of you already took that one. So wanted to change it up just a bit. So again, few of you texting in with the question that we kind of threw out there in the first hour of the program for starting pitching wise for the Brewers. Who do you have the most faith in? Who do you trust the most right now? It's not even close. It's Tobias Myers. It's Tobias Myers, the rookie, who has been fantastic since the month of June. So not even close right now. Quick look at where everything is at in the standings in Major League Baseball, because even the Twins last night picking up a win against Kansas City. That's a big series for the Twins too. But when you look at it, Twins right now, the second wild card team, Baltimore, is up. They're in that battle with the Yankees for first in the American League East, but Baltimore has a slight edge. They have one fewer loss than the Yankees right now. But Baltimore, Cleveland, and Houston are your division leaders in the American League. Yankees, Twins, Royals holding on to the wild card spots. You got Boston, that's just 2 games back. Seattle is 2 games back from a wild card spot here, but they're in a fight right now with Houston, just a half game back for the division lead. So they're closer to the division lead than they are in a wild card spot. And then it drops down a little bit. You got Tampa Bay that's 5.5 back, and then Detroit 9 back. National League, a lot of the same stuff. That has kind of been the trend in terms of the National League so far this year. Dodgers, the first team in the National League now with 70 wins. You've got Philadelphia sitting there at 69 and 49. Brewers 67 and 51. Wild card race, Arizona, San Diego. They're continuing their hot play. Atlanta's holding on to the final wild card spot by just a game over the New York Mets. Cardinals 2.5 back, Giants 2.5 back, and then you've got the Cubs, and Cubs are 4 back, Reds are 4.5 back. Then Pittsburgh's just 6 back, Washington's 8.5 back, and then you got the Miami Marlins and Colorado Rockies holding up the rear down there. So, speaking of the Brewers, Colin Ray is going to be looking for his 11th win of the season. He's getting the start tonight. Gavin Stone going up for the Dodgers. Stone's been struggling. I mean, he started off the season really hot, but the last couple months, it's been a little bit of a struggle. So, kind of wonder which version of Gavin Stone are we going to see tonight going up against the Brewers. Hopefully, it's been the one that's kind of had a rough past couple of months here overall. Hopefully, it's that version, but again, I think the biggest key for the Brewers tonight, rack up that pitch count, because when you look at it in his last few starts, he hasn't gone past 5 innings. Rack up that pitch count and put up some runs early. Give Colin Ray an early lead. Rack up some runs on Gavin Stone early. I think that's got to be the key, being aggressive at the plate. And I know I mentioned it in the first hour too, but I thought it was an interesting quote from Pat Murphy after the game last night, where he said that he thought his young players were kind of affected by the moment, the magnitude of facing Clayton Kershaw. This is it. If you want to swim with the Sharks, you got to be willing to step up in these situations and forget about who's on the mound. It's baseball. Pitch by pitch. I'm not disappointed in any of the guys. I'm not mad or anything like that. I just felt like we didn't have the right approach there mentally for the situation. But it is young guys in front of their hometown crowd. It's Kershaw. That means something. We're all human. I get it. Guys are going to be like, oh, in awe here a little bit. But at the same time, playoffs coming up. You better be ready for the moment too. Can't be in awe of the moment of the playoffs. You don't have a lot of makeup ground. Right? Got to get used to it right away. Got to get adjusted to it right away. Easier said than done, though. That's for sure. 2 in. We got one more to go. Stick around. We've got a busy 8 o'clock hour coming up here. We'll be back after these news updates. All right, final hour on this Tuesday morning of August 13th. Big thanks to all of you tuning in wherever, however you're tuning in. Got quite a few texts to catch up on here. We'll get to those in just a little bit, but feel free to always join in the conversation. 715-830-1912. We'll talk some college football coming up at the bottom of the hour with the AP poll coming out yesterday, our first glimpse of the top 25 rankings over there. So we'll hit that up and chat some Badger football. A couple days ago, they wrapped up camp over at Platteville, and their season will kick off here in just a couple weeks. We begin this hour, though, catching up with our good friends from the Eau Claire Express, owner Craig Toyson joining us in studio.
Morning.
Morning. How you doing, man? Kind of recovering a little bit.
Yeah.
Long season, but what a run in that second half, man. Falling just a bit short, but I mean, it was kind of like playoff baseball those last couple weeks, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and
Mhm.
unfortunately, we had a couple guys that were key players just kind of hit cold spots at the wrong time, and it all happened together. But to go out in the end of the season with a win against a great team like Madison, because they had a great year this year.
Yeah.
To go out with that win in that situation, because we've been in that situation with bases loaded, nobody out, and we've seen it go the other way in a hurry, and then to have local kid come in there do a great job was fun, and then to get the close finished up, it was a great way to end the season. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, when you look back at this season, one word that comes to your mind going to be offense when it comes to it, or home runs and
power
grand
surge,
slams and all that. I mean,
Yeah.
it was so. I mean, to see the offensive output from this team, and it was all season long too.
Yeah.
With this group, I mean, if you like high scoring in baseball, this was a team that you probably really gravitated towards.
Yeah, defensively, it wasn't what we were preferring. I mean, the pitching took a little while to get going, but if you talk to Vic, he'll tell you, and I fully agree. The pitching in the second half of the year was much better, but the first half was, was a struggle. We, guys who hadn't pitched a lot in college, but were good prospects, just couldn't find the zone right away. But they worked their way through it, and by the end of the year, we had good pitching, good defense, and still managed to put on those runs that we needed early in the year to get wins. And then in the second half, we really let some teams have it. So it was a very satisfying season to end up 500, considering where we were sitting at the end of the first half. I feel very satisfied with where we ended up.
Right. So you look at, it's lacrosse that won the first half and now, but now you look at Madison. You mentioned you're going to be maybe heading over to Wausau to take in that game. Game 3 tonight.
Well, I think we all left lacrosse for dead because they really had a weak second half after a strong second half, and they just went out last night and just blew the doors off of Duluth again and ended that series right away. So Duluth, who was kind of our travel this year, has already finished up 2 days after us. So is what it is. But yeah, they look good. St. Cloud and Wilmer are going to game 3 tonight. Rockford and Kalamazoo are going to game 3. If I got my teams right. But Madison and Wausau are going to game 3 tonight. So looking forward to catching that. And,
couple teams you faced this year too as part of your new schedule.
Yeah, I fought really hard for interleague play, and look what it got me. I got the 2 playoff teams, Wausau and Madison. But it was fun to play local teams like that. And I hope whoever wins this series, whether it's Madison or Wausau, can go on and win anything. I'd like to keep that trophy in Wisconsin. Green Bay won it last year, and then let's just keep moving into a little more west to Eau Claire next year.
When you look at how tight your division was, especially with Northwoods League and that, I mean, that's got to be good for the league overall to have so many competitive teams with a week left of the season to be still in that playoff hunt, right? I mean, the talent there would seem pretty even. For the most
Waterloo
part.
was out of it, and the Mud Puppies are not really a contributing factor to that, but Rochester really had a good scenario. Thunder Bay was in charge until we really thumped them down here and then up there. And then Duluth just really hit a hot streak at the right time. So, I mean, to have 4 or 5 teams really having playoff potential, it makes for some quality baseball, exciting baseball, and fans were engaged at the end of the year. And it makes it for a more fun environment. That last game, we had 2,200 fans in the crowd, and it was an exciting environment and boisterous, and it was a great game.
Yeah, it was, and definitely a lot of, when you look back at this, I know it's still fresh in that, but when you get time to kind of recover and regroup, and you look at all the ebbs and flows and highs and lows of the season, I mean, it seems like just a couple weeks ago was the first game, that against Madison that we were talking about.
Recovering. I'm not sure if it's like from a trauma, like I need to rest and relax, or if it's more I'm an addict and I'm in recovery. So because I miss it quite a bit, but it's nice to have those evenings free now for a while here. But we're it'll be bittersweet. We're having lunch today to wish the interns well and send them off back on their way back to school back home. So it'll be a tough day there to say bye to them, because you get to know them so well over the course of those 3 months. And they get very tight. I mean, half of them live together and they're together at the ballpark every single day. So it's not just an 8-hour job or a 10-hour job or whatever it is. It's 24 hours together so it's an intense experience for them. So
Right.
players stayed in left field for quite a while on after the game Saturday night, and then they all got together at one of the host family's house for kind of one last hurrah before everybody kind of took off on Sunday or Monday. And it ends very abruptly no matter when it is, and then it's hard to say goodbye, but it's fun to see those guys post their posts on Instagram and say what a great season it was, and fun to see them stay in touch as the years go on.
That's what I was going to ask you too. With the players, did a lot of them already kind of leave town shortly after that last game?
Yep, I think most of them took off. I mean, the fun thing this year was we had so many local players that you'll see guys around, but around here, college are starting pretty quick. Brady Reynolds lived with us, goes to Stanford. He has another month yet, but he came straight from school here. So he was excited to get home and see his family. He hadn't seen him in quite a while, and excited to get back to Bakersfield, California, and join them for a month before school started. So it's hard to say goodbye. He used one of our cars this summer, so we pulled into the driveway after dropping him off the airport. I'm like, oh, hey, Brady's here. I'm like, oh, no, he's not. He's gone. So it's hard to say goodbye because you get really close to these guys.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful for all the host families because it's you're giving a part of your family to that player every time, and when they leave, it hurts.
It's a special bond, right?
It
I
is,
mean,
yeah.
it really is. I mean, yeah, you get and for those kids, I still call them kids, but
They are.
They go into a situation where they don't know these, and you're like, hey, I'm home, sort of thing. And for host families to embrace them right away and to make it comfortable for that, because you're right, they leave school right away and they don't get to see their family a whole lot. I mean, they're done with their season, then they got to pick up another season.
Yep.
Here,
so they got fall ball starting right away, but
Mm-hmm.
you try and give them as best of a Wisconsin experience as you can. So he did a little pheasant hunting while he was here. He did a little fishing. We took him out to breakfast in Cadott one morning. So he's experienced. I think other than we didn't get a chance to do a Friday night fish fry because he always had a game that night.
Right.
I think that's about the only thing we really missed out on. But we gave him deep fried cheese curds. He had the squeaky cheese curds. So he's he said he feels like an honorary Wisconsinite now.
Nice. Well, that's pretty cool that you made sure to go do that too. Experience Wisconsin as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, a lot of guys.
While you're over here,
a lot of the host families do a lot of stuff like that with the players. It's cool to see.
Right. Absolutely. So when you look at with the players too, you do a good job, and the Express overall does a really good job too. You always kind of keep tabs of those players, whether if they come back or whether their careers are continuing elsewhere, maybe at the pro level. You always do a really good job keeping in touch with those players.
Yeah, I mean, Instagram is the place where they all are, and I'm active baseball wise on Twitter. Try to stay out of the political game on there because that's a mess. But Twitter is where I kind of see where they're at career wise, and then Instagram is where they kind of post their stuff personalized. So I usually wait till the end of the year just to give them a break, but then I tend to follow them all on Instagram after that, and they're nice enough to follow a 43-year-old man back. So so they're usually just to see photos of my own kids, but it's just fun to keep tabs on them and see as they their serious girlfriends that came here visit them, that we start to see engagements and then start to see weddings, and then spring season rolls around, we start to see players meet up that either they're playing against each other or a player was playing nearby and then make the drive over. So it's awesome to see those lifelong bonds with those guys and just track them, whether it's a career in pro baseball or it's a career in something else. It's fun to track them. And I know one of our host families has had a blast. They were just down in Las Vegas watching one of the players I hosted a few years ago. He plays for the Party Animals now against the Savannah Bananas. So, and he's, I other than playing maybe AAA or Major League Baseball, you can't get much higher than that in baseball. Like I said, it's not really my thing, but man, they're selling out big stadiums and it's a fun environment for those who are interested in it. So it's cool for them to be able to go see that and have that connection with that guy.
So I know it's kind of early, but what's the next couple months, or what's the game plan for like the Express, besides Sammy welcoming a new Express member to the family here soon?
So she'll have that very shortly. So kudos to her, she timed that perfectly.
Yeah, right. No kidding.
we in honor of the Eau Claire Bears, we let Dale hibernate for like a little bit of a stretch here, although I'm pulling him back in the office a little earlier because we're working on a couple projects right away. But we always have a good, bad, and ugly meeting at the end of the season. So we'll do that here this week. Get everybody who's a full-time employee in and a couple maybe key part-time employees in to really ask, like, hey, what did we notice worked? And what did we notice didn't work? And what was really a problem that we need to deal with? And some of that stuff is internal, some of it's external. Some of it is just things that are beyond our control. I mean, there's stadium issues that we just can't work around because that's just what the stadium is.
Right.
So we have that meeting, and you need to be able to constructively criticize people, and I think that's always a healthy thing to get done while it's still fresh in our minds, and we can have that discussion where it's in a place where we're not doing it to be mean, but we need to have those open conversations. So we'll have that this week. Working on some dugout stuff this week because we're trying to get that project rolling, and got some great grant proposals out there. We're hoping to hear back within the next month or so that we can move forward on some plans there. The city of Eau Claire has been active with Carson Park and their capital improvement plan for next year. So if we can get our grants to come through, we might have a little opportunity to get some things done. So there's a lot in the fire right now. Hope we can get done. We'd like to continue to grow Whipfree Zone. We're working with UW Eau Claire on that for football games, and working on maybe adding some more seating out in Whipfree Zone, another private area within the Whipfree Zone where we can have more groups come out, because that's always seems to be a demand thing. And it's the main thing is we just want to keep that. We love the GA seats, but we want to keep that grandstand full because that adds so much to the environment of the games. And when the grandstand is packed at Carson Park, it's a whole nother animal. So we want to make sure we got that sold as much as we can throughout the season.
You mentioned dugouts. Would you say that's kind of towards the top of the list and priority right now when it comes to improvements, maybe?
Yeah, like when you make a list of things like the projects you got to do at home, you kind of try and look at, hey, what are the things I can check off easy here and get done?
Right.
So like making the beds the first thing in the morning, right? So try and get that. I think the dugouts project is something that we can do relatively easily. I think any other user of the park or anybody who's been a user of the park can tell you they're not working for the modern ball team. That high school teams, Legion teams, college teams, town ball teams, and obviously the Eau Claire Express, it just doesn't work. They're not big enough. They're not wide enough. Concrete stairs down with metal spikes isn't good. The roof doesn't provide any protection from elements, whether it's rain or sun. There's no good way to kind of lean against it and watch the game while you're playing. You can't sit down and watch the game. So looking at what we can do to make that a better thing right away. And I've asked players throughout the league because they all come in. We all have supper with them at the end of the night and serve them food. And I said, where do Carson Park's dugouts rank? And they said, the consistent answer I got was second to last in the league. So, and most of them love Carson Park. They love the food. They love everything else that we do, but as players, but dugouts is a problem. And I think we can make it a much better park just with that small thing right there, and then start focusing on some of the bigger stuff when we get the opportunity.
Right. So, and I think you've mentioned it before too. When you look at different ideas, does a lot of your inspiration come from the other ballparks that you go visit? Or is it, just kind of Google search or whatever? Is it mostly going to different ballparks?
Well, I mean, I see other ballparks, and that's sure helpful. We went to Mankato for the All-Star game this year, and it's great to see what other teams do, and you can see like, I think we do this better, but I think that's better than what we do here. So take a lot of that stuff in. I mean, I have a lot of conversations with fans throughout the season, and one of the nice things is host families will introduce me to players' families when they come in, so I can talk to them and hear about their college stadium and where I tend to sit at games. I tend to be more on the visitor side with some other host families that I know, and there's always seems to be player families from the other teams there as well. So I'll try and introduce them and distract them from the fact that our host families are giving the players grief. But ask them what their take is, because they've usually made the rounds to other fields too around the league. So just try and get as much feedback as I can on like what things we should work on. And I think Whipfree Zone was kind of born out of that, where we realized we had wasted space compared to what other people were doing. And I think we'll continue to work on that stuff.
Where do you Northwoods League? I mean, we've seen some expansion of teams, the last few years. Is there anything like that, do you think, on the horizon? Is it something that continues to look to grow here? I mean, baseball too, with the transfer portal and the college thing, you got players coming in and out.
Yeah.
How do you think the status is with the Northwoods League, or
they're
are they in good shape?
25 full-time teams and 26 with the Mud Puppies that fill out our home schedules. There's still talk that Hudson might come aboard. We'd love it, but the rumor I had heard was 26, but I mean, I've heard 23, 24, 25 for rumors too. And then here we still sit. I don't know how much room there is to continue to go out west. I mean, we went to Dickinson, North Dakota this year. That's a long, long haul. Maybe there's a spot in South Dakota you could add a team in there, but there's been independent ball there, and you don't want to encroach on other territories too much. That's not fair to them, and we need to all get along in the sandbox as well.
Right.
I think there's room in Michigan to expand, and there's a lot of teams that are growing that direction. I think you might see some more expansion that way, and I would really push for that, because I would love to have maybe 3 divisions in the long run, have a central and east and a west, and maybe we could continue to play more of those Wisconsin teams. Keep that rivalry with Cross, maybe keep that rivalry with Duluth. add Wausau, add Wisconsin Rapids, get to Green Bay, get to Fond du Lac,
Mm-hmm.
play Madison, play maybe Lakeshore in Mequon there, and play Kenosha, and really have a Wisconsin champion to be a lot of fun
Right.
again. But there's definitely more cities that can handle a team out there.
Mm-hmm.
But the other concern is there's a lot of leagues out there that have copycatted us. I still think, I think the players still consider Cape Cod the number one. And I think the reason is all the games are within like an hour of each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more laid back schedule. It's mostly volunteer based. But I think as far as quality of play and what we offer in terms of a schedule that's closest to the pro game, I don't think you can beat the Northwoods League in that. So
Mm-hmm.
we want to make sure that we're getting quality players. And we've seen the last couple of years, the pitching level has gotten maybe a little watered down as we've added more teams. Some of that might be contributing to, teams more concerned about arm care, that they're not sending guys the way they once did. Transfer portal has definitely concerned people that they don't want to pitch when they're in the transfer portal because they don't want to risk getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good because the pendulum was too far one way against the players, and now it's swung the other way. Players have the freedoms they probably need. It's maybe hurt the game a little bit because it's swung. So it'll probably swing back a little bit and maybe find that sweet spot. I don't know what that'll be, but we get time.
Would you say, like, with that schedule, if it were to happen, where you got more Wisconsin teams, like this year, you had some rainouts, would it be easier to make up some of those games too, if with the closer travel that way?
I hope so. That's part of the thing. The less teams we play, we could make up some of those rain dates at home, and that,
Mhm.
adding those couple teams in this year. We lost a home date against lacrosse this year because we ended up not playing them at home again this year, and we lost
Right.
another home date against Waterloo because it just worked out that way. So you never know. I'd like to think not Waterloo, but anyway, we lost one somewhere. But anything we can do to make up a game, we want to get it done. So because we want to have those games. It's important for us to have those home games in order to make up all the fixed expenses that we have. But
Right.
you also need to be respectful of the players. It's tough for them to play. At one point we had 2 doubleheaders in a row.
Yeah.
You have 4 games in 2 days for kids. That's a lot. That's a lot, especially in the dog days of summer.
Right. Exactly. So I would got to imagine league meetings coming up later on in the season, or maybe in the spring or something like that. Does that
This
usually?
fall, actually, we are hosting them in Eau Claire. So
Oh,
we are
nice.
excited for that. Yeah, we'll be right in downtown Eau Claire. So if there is riffraff in downtown and
Blame lacrosse.
if there's some riffraff late September, early October, you can probably blame the Northwoods League. But,
Yeah.
it's a fun crew. We enjoy getting together. It's a great again sharing thing where we can talk about what worked, what didn't work, and really work to all make our product better. So looking forward to having that here in Eau Claire and showing off the city.
Yeah, that's a unique thing too, because it seems like every, you may have some playful rivalries in that, but every team wants every team to succeed in this league,
Oh,
right?
trust me, the champions come strutting into that room when the time comes. So it'll be fun for whoever that gets to be. But and we all boo them, don't worry. But it's fun to get together and talk about the season, because we're all here because we love baseball and we love the Northwoods League.
When you look at, I mean, just the last couple of weeks too, baseball in this area, Craig, with you guys, the Express. I know the Legion ball team with Mark Faunus and their group. I
unbelievable
mean,
year.
yeah, the national run there. I know Eau Claire Bay Roos are at the World Series right now too, and CRBL teams. We've got a few local teams advancing to WBA states coming up here too. I mean, it just seems like another, would you say, prototypical year with baseball around here because of the amount of talent?
It's good to see it continue to grow, and I think it was the foresight of some people in the community, years ago, and I you have guys like Mark and Dale credit, and like a Brian Seibert credit up at VSA. I think all those things are going to continue to help grow the baseball in the area, and having a strong Legion program where it's a very accessible league to kids is really awesome, and having Little League, feed into Babe Ruth and the Eau Claire A's is great, and Howie's got a strong program, and the Eau Claire National and all that stuff. Lowe's Creek. I mean, there's just great Little League in the area, and I know the Varvas have been busy in Menominee with their stuff too. So I mean, baseball is going to continue to grow here, and people love to say, "Oh, baseball's a dying." It is not a dying sport.
No.
I can tell you, the weekend tournaments I go to, it's as big as it's ever been. It might not be the numbers of kids involved at the lower levels, but the people who are involved are passionately involved, and we're excited to be a part of keeping that growing here.
Yeah, definitely. And shout out to, I know, Ryan Bear over at Chippewa Falls Legion too. He's a big listener too. So got to give a shout out over there. So, well, big thanks again, Craig, for another memorable season. This was a lot of fun. I know it was just fell a little short of the postseason, but man, I mean, that run for the last couple weeks and follow.
It's
I mean,
exciting.
the big weekend series wins against Thunder Bay and then Duluth. I mean,
Mhm.
some of the highlight catches. I mean, Dylan O'Connell playing, I think, every position besides pitcher and catcher
Pretty much.
at this
Yeah.
point. Reggie making catches out in center field. I mean,
Yeah,
it
this might
was
not have been the winningest team we've ever had, but boy, it was sure a memorable year. A lot of big time plays, a lot of big time hits, a lot of
Mhm.
walk offs this year. I think we had 9 grand slams, shattered our home run record.
Mhm.
And I think it's pretty cool. Jake Buston, who comes to plate with his work gloves on rather than batting gloves, led the team in home runs with 10 home runs, which is toward the league top, other than
Mhm.
one player in Wilmer who just blew everybody away. He wasn't even a full time player. I mean, we signed him to start the year. We had some injuries, so he came back, and then look at the difference he made. I mean,
Mhm.
unbelievable. So cool to see that kind of stuff. So cool to see local kids make a difference here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you again for everything you guys did at the ballpark, and send our thanks to everybody, Dale, Sammy, Vic, interns
We'll wake him
with
up
the
from
lunch.
hibernation here.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Dale, get up right now. So, big thanks again, Craig. It was such a fun season, and countdown's already on for next year, man.
Absolutely.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll switch some gears and talk some college football coming up after these few words.
In the first 2 months. So does Mark Patrick hypnosis work? Oh yeah, it works. Nothing has changed my life more. Well, except maybe my husband. He's so proud of me, makes me cry.
Wow, what are you waiting for? Join Mark Patrick Seminars and lose the weight or stop smoking, guaranteed. Early bird special only $49.99. That's right, weight loss seminar, Sunday, August 18th at the Best Western Plus Eau Claire Conference Center in Eau Claire at 11 a.m. Registration 10:30 a.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Registration 1:30 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com.
Summer isn't over yet, and neither are your backyard barbecue parties. So if you haven't tried all the different flavors of brats from Mike's Star Market yet, you have time this summer season. Whether it's the Bloody Mary brats, the dill pickle and cheese, or a classic beer brat, Mike's Star Market has a flavor for everyone to try. And you know you're getting the freshest, best quality of meats and the best customer service at Mike's Star Market. Mike's Star Market, deliberately old-fashioned to assure quality and affordability.
Sports. You love it. We love it. And quite frankly, I don't trust anyone who doesn't love it. Do you?
Is that a serious question?
The Dan Kasper Show.
Have you checked out the food at the VFW Post 305 lately? From their taco omelets to their Friday fish fry, the menu at the VFW Post 305 has something for everyone. Plus, with their expanded kitchen hours, they are your new go-to place for a meal, good company, and good entertainment, with music happening on Wednesday nights and Saturdays. So the next time you're wondering where you should be going for some breakfast, some lunch, or dinner, head on over to the VFW Post 305, located at 1300 Star Avenue in Eau Claire. Big thanks again to Craig Toyson for stopping in and helping us recap the Eau Claire Express season. The Northwoods League still continuing to roll on here, and we've got a big game. He mentioned he might be heading on over to Wausau to take on the Wausau Woodchucks, or to watch the Madison Mallards take on the Wausau Woodchucks over there for Game 3. And well, we got RJ Cardinal joining us right now. I'll stay at RJ. Go Woodchucks. So just yeah,
wow,
fighting words right away, man.
Jeez,
so
man, we went 2-2. You can't root for an affiliate's hometown.
Well, you know, when I was a kid, I've got my first Northwoods League game. Wausau was the closest. Got introduced on the field, so there's a little bit of the nostalgia feeling. Just say
I'll allow it.
And that's when they were the Wisconsin Woodchucks. So I mean, they were kind of like the state team, sort of.
Yeah.
So, but
that is true.
Yeah. So go Woodchucks. Sorry.
Are even though we went 2-2 on the year, are you doing a big reveal for the traveling trophy?
I saw your comment. I think I might have to.
I mean, we still got to see it. I mean,
right. Yeah.
It's not technically going anywhere this year, but I mean, it's the first year of it, so
right.
Gotta mark it somehow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll work on a big reveal video. How about that?
Sounds good.
Oh man. So all right. Hey, college football. We got plenty to catch up on here, RJ. So the Badgers finished up their camp over at Platteville. From what you heard, from what you read or seen or talked to, what were some of the highlights, or what kind of stood out from you from camp over at Platteville when it comes to the Badgers?
The defense is looking good. There are going to be some new wrinkles into the defense that most of the media, I don't know if they were told they can't talk about it or whatnot, but it's going to be a lot more of disguising formations and things like that. So even though you think something's on the field, it's going to be something else. Your running back situation is better than we had last year. Whether you put the 3 new freshmen in there or not, Tyree Walker looks like a guy who's looking to punish defenders. Hopefully you have Marusi in there, and it's one of those, it's sad to say, you can't really rely on him. He's injury prone, even though some of those injuries are like breaks and not like a pulled hamstring or something like that. Like I said, the 3 freshmen are doing well. It looks like Dupree has the ability to be a game changer. It'll be interesting to see where he falls on that depth chart. You still have Jackson Aker in there. and Cade Yakimelli. And we'll just see how that room flushes out. Then near the end of the week last week, we had Tyler Van Dyke, at least in public and viewed practices by the media. Tyler Van Dyke was separating himself and taking most of the number one reps. So, yeah, things seem to be starting to flush out. Wisconsin still hasn't named the starter, but from the appearance of everything, we have a starting QB.
You know, speaking of the quarterback, there was an article I was reading the other day on ESPN talking about the Badgers and Luke Fickell playing. It says Wisconsin, Luke Fickell playing the long game after offensive growing pains in year one. It's from David Hale from ESPN. And there was a line in here that says that, but Fickell is playing the long game here. Change is hard, but he's certain it's necessary. He wants to make the college football playoff, something Wisconsin has never done despite posting the 9th best record of any FBS team during the playoff era and win a national title. And to do that, the Badgers have to evolve. Wisconsin is going to throw the ball more, which he kind of talked about a little bit earlier. Some quotes from Fickell is like, you know, there obviously is some fans that would like to see it stay with running the football more and being that maybe a little old school mesh. But do you think this is the right path to throw the football more? Is this the style that has to win in college football to get to the college football playoff?
Now, we have talked about this before. The air raid that has been brought to Wisconsin by Longo is not the true air raid. Everybody's still under the impression it's going to be, and all you have to do is look at Longo's track history outside of the time he was at Sam Houston or Stephen F. Austin, one of the two, where they ran the option. His is a more balanced attack out of the spread. It's not a true air raid. There will be more passing, but as we've seen under Paul Christ, everybody's perception of Wisconsin is still the Barry Alvarez era and the 40 or 60% run, 40% pass, or whatever you want to classify it as. Paul Christ was his offenses were closer to 50-50 than people want to give that credit for. Phil Longo's offenses are closer to 50-50 than anybody thinks they are. So I still don't understand the whole transition to the full-on air raid, because I don't think it's ever going to happen. I think we're seeing what we're seeing, where you're going to be bringing in backs, but those running backs are going to be also involved in the passing game. And it's going to be considered more dynamic because it's out of different formations than, the I or the power I or the offset I that Wisconsin has traditionally run stuff out of. But make no mistake, Wisconsin wasn't stuck back in the 90s under Paul Christ. And right now, Phil Longo doesn't run a true air raid. So passing more, sure. Whether it's going to be totally abandoning the running game and being pass heavy, I don't think so. Mm-hmm. And that's just historically looking at Phil Longo's offenses as well as what we saw last year. I mean, you can say we didn't have the personnel to do it last year, but I think against LSU, we saw some of that passing game come out, and it still doesn't look like something that's going to evolve into full-on air raid here at Wisconsin. It'll be maybe a little bit more pass-heavy, and I'd say, I think the last time I was doing some research, it was like 55-45. Is the farthest deviation that Longo ever had in terms of being pass heavy in his stops along the way as an offensive coordinator. So, yeah, sure, maybe passing more, but I think it's having the right personnel in to make this actually work. And like I said, we saw it at North Carolina, where he had 2 receivers and a tight end, almost all with 1,000 yards receiving, and 2 running backs who are almost at 1,000 yards rushing. So it's a more dynamic offense once you get the personnel you need in place rather than a true air raid.
Do you think part of this too, with the evolving of the offense, if that's how we want to describe it, you almost have to do that with the change in the teams in the conference too? I mean, you're bringing in Oregon, you're bringing in USC and Washington and all those. I mean, do you feel like that's almost a necessity to have to adapt to because of the different style of teams that you're bringing into the conference?
I think more or less you'd have to adapt on the defensive side of the ball and kind of become a faster defense when you're bringing in teams that like spreading it out and all that. Offensively, I mean, no offense to USC, but I mean, their defense last year was absolutely atrocious. Like, their offense could put up points to be world beaters, and they could lose games because the defense looked like an absolute sieve. And it's one of those, as long as you have a solid defense that has speed, that can go sideline to sideline, I think you're okay. And I think we're seeing Wisconsin's defense over the years, no matter what they were running out of, has had a pretty decent defense that's ranked, anywhere from top 20 to top 10 to top 5 in some years. And now some people will say that depends on who you play, but still, when you're holding teams to under 100 yards rushing, your defense is doing something right, no matter who you're playing. And now last year we saw teams start gouging us, and you're still going to have teams that have great running games in this conference. And now your conference with 18 teams, there's going to be a whole bunch of different offensive styles. We're already seeing a bunch of different defensive styles as well. So I think it's more or less you could keep your identity of what your offense is, because your offense is going to be what dictates a game. Your defense is the one that has to play catch up. And I don't think Wisconsin's defense has to do a lot of catch up. We need to get deeper at defensive line. Other than that, I think we have the playmakers at the other levels to be able to compete right away with some of these other teams. It's going to be a transition year this year to seeing where the defense stands up to some of these offenses we're going to be going up against. And really, offensively, I think is what needs to be proven. Because, I mean, last year, I think we can all agree, due to injury and whatnot, it just wasn't it.
Yeah. So you said transition year for the defense. Are you saying so maybe some fans don't like to hear that, RJ? So would you say, this year, I know it's a tough schedule, defense, Alabama, Oregon, and all that. Is year 3, year 4 under this new regime the years to really pay attention to see potentially what we have?
No, I really think it's this year, and more so a transition year on the defense, because you're going to be going up against Iowa and Northwestern, who aren't the great offensive powers that you see out of Oregon and USC and Alabama, So you're going to be seeing multiple different styles of offense, and it'll be interesting to see the kind of formations this defense can trot out. They feel heck, they added like 4,000 linebackers this offseason, whether it was during recruiting or the transfer portal. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of base this defense is out of due to maybe lack of depth on the D line. Are we going to see 2 down linemen and then whatever combination of linebackers, safeties, and corners you want to throw out there? Are we going to see more of the dollar? Are we going to see some dime? Like it and where the dollar is like 3.5, but it's really not, because some of those safeties they have now are pretty much the size of linebackers and can hit like a linebacker. So it transition year, I guess I'm using more as of a get to know the conference year.
Gotcha.
And not necessarily like it's going to be a tough year for the defense, because I think last year was kind of a tough year for a defense, even though they were holding teams to I mean, you're losing games by 2 touchdowns, but your offense is only putting up 10, 13 points. And especially in this day and age, where you see offenses going much higher scoring, the defense was still holding people to under 30 points, and they were losing games. Usually, if you saw the Wisconsin defense give up 30 points, like especially under Paul Chryst, you were winning the game 48 to 35 or something like that. So yeah, transition, maybe not a good year. It's a get to know the new people year and see where this defense stands. Because I mean, we've seen them against the regulars in the conference, where they fall with the new teams we're going to be playing, and where they fall against this. I mean, heck, your 42% of your schedule this year right now is ranked in the top 25. 3 teams on your schedule are currently preseason top 10. So yeah, it's all about what we're going to do in feeling out this conference as well as Alabama.
Yeah, you mentioned the top 25, and I know you love the preseason AP poll. But the one team that snuck in at number 25 is Iowa, and that's one of those old school teams yet that's still out there. Iowa, do you think is, I mean, top 25 team better than Wisconsin, would you say at this point?
I mean, I guess. Their defense isn't taking any hits whatsoever, so that's still going to be there, I think. Bringing a new offensive coordinator, a few more offensive transfers in. I guess at the public practice they had, Cade McNamara looked absolutely trash. So it'll be interesting to see how they fit offensively. But I guess the AP forgot their punter is now in the NFL. Their best player in the history of their franchise. So I don't know what they're looking at in Iowa, but apparently they think with the new offensive coordinator they're going to put up more than 21 points per game. I mean, can't really say much because it's not like Wisconsin was doing that last year either. But yeah, I'm not sure why that team is in the top 25. If you told me they were receiving votes, absolutely, I'd agree with that. Iowa and Wisconsin both should be receiving votes. But yeah, I'm not too sure with that sneaking in there. Like we said, the preseason poll is pretty much a popularity contest. It doesn't really matter what you did last year or what's in your roster coming back, unless you're one of those top 5 teams. Other than that, it's throwing spaghetti at a wall, seeing what sticks, and recognizing a logo and putting it up there. I mean, Georgia is the number 1 preseason team, and we found out the Georgia football team comes down lighter on driving offenses than the state of Wisconsin. So it's one of those, it's recency bias, or in terms of, I recognize that logo. That's going to be number 1. That's going to be number 2. And it's a poll that doesn't need to happen until at least week 4 or 5. And outside of that, you're giving the historical favorites a major boost in terms of making the college football playoff. I mean, you talked about it there earlier when you said they're the 9th best record since the college football playoff started, and yet they haven't made the college football playoff. Well, I mean, when you start in the bottom of the top 25, and apparently, I guess I didn't really notice this, but it's the first time since 2016 they've started outside of the top 25, and that kind of baffles me with some of the mediocre seasons, I guess we can say, Wisconsin's had. But still, it's one of those. I mean, this year's schedule, if you go, 10-2 into the Big Ten championship game and participate, you should be in the top 12 to go make the college football playoff. But in past years, I mean, Wisconsin was 5 or 6 and just missed out on a couple of them. And yeah, I mean, did they deserve to be in after losing in Big Ten championship games? No. You lost to a better team that ended up going to the playoff. It happens. But moving forward, depending on how tough your schedule is going to look, yeah, it's one of those. You really get hamstrung by not being in a even ranked. And even with 12 teams coming in, you have to have a pretty darn good season to be able to be mentioned. And I mean, I saw people saying, "Hey, 9-3 teams are going to start getting considered." No, I mean that shouldn't happen. If you have some in there that are bad losses, you shouldn't really be considered. And still some of the voting's done by television market, and you can say whoever the heck you are. ESPN does have influence on who they're going to be putting on TV and all that kind of stuff because they want more eyes on it. Even though they think that's the SEC, facts have been proven. It was the lowest rated national championship game in BCS history when we saw LSU and Alabama play, and that really accelerated to the playoff. And the SEC seemed to think they were a great catalyst in bringing that to everybody, and were championing it. And which just goes to show you nobody really cares about SEC football except ESPN now paying them up the wazoo to put them on TV, even though the Big Ten is getting $1 billion from 3 different networks because they know the eyes are going to be on them, even though people say the Big Ten's down.
Mm-hmm. I know we're getting close to college football season when RJ starts to throw some haymakers at other programs like Iowa. Now we're getting in there. I like it. Dude, appreciate the time as always, buddy. Enjoy the rest of the week and can't wait to catch up with you again next week, bud.
Sounds good. We will talk to you then.
You got it. There you go. RJ Cardinal, Badger analyst, joining us, throwing the haymakers to Iowa and such. Georgia. I love it. Let's take a quick break. We got picks and predicts coming up after these few words. Time to wrap things up this morning with some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire, located right next to the Banbury Place. Also, don't forget, we're going to have some Pro Football Weekly Pick'em Challenges coming up here soon. You're going to be able to start to make some picks and sign up at sportstalk1051.com in just a couple of days. Actually, tomorrow, I believe, is when the program said it'll be up. So make sure you register for that for free. Again, just visit sportstalk1051.com and click on the Fan Cave tab. Some baseball games. We got a full slate of games coming up starting tonight. Cubbies at Cleveland. Cleveland picked up a 9-8 victory last night. I'll go with Cleveland again tonight. How about St. Louis versus Cincinnati? Hunter Green, Eric Fetty on the mound. Reds helping out the Brewers last night by picking up a 6-1 win. I'm going to go with the Cardinals tonight, though. Let's go Texas at Boston. I'll go Boston. Twins, Kansas City. We had the Twins picking up a win last night. I'm going to go Kansas City tonight, though. Let's go. How about, by the way, the White Sox winning by 10 over the Yankees last night, 12-2. I'll go Yankees tonight if we're picking that one. Let's go Pittsburgh, San Diego. I'll go with the Padres in tonight's game. Atlanta taking on the Giants. Atlanta. That was a heck of a pitching match last night. Chris Sale and Blake Snell 1-0 victory and extra innings there. Both those pitchers combining for 23 strikeouts. So I'll go Atlanta tonight. And then we got the Dodgers taking on the Brewers. Gavin Stone, Colin Ray. Brewers, be aggressive early. Get the pitch count up on Gavin Stone. Put up some runs early. Give Colin Ray some run support. You will win this game. I'm going to go with the Brewers picking up a Game 2 victory tonight. Reminder, first pitch for that game, 7:10. You can catch it on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Pregame is going to be 35 minutes prior, so about 6:35 this evening. So, all right, shot clock's going to cut me off here. All right. Have yourself a fantastic rest of your day. Coming up tomorrow, we'll recap Game 2 of this series. Hopefully the Brewers pick up a W. We'll have some latest injury updates surrounding the green and gold as they get back to practice today. So hopefully still pretty healthy. But, yeah, we'll have some fun again tomorrow. Appreciate all the texts this morning, all the input and the participation. Keep it going, all right? Dan Patrick Show is coming up next. Have yourself a fantastic Tuesday. We'll do it again tomorrow morning, just past 6. Talk to you then.